What's up, guys? It's Patricia from tarantulaheaven.com, and today we're going to talk about nematodes, nematode parasites. I think that providing first aid info is really important for both experienced tarantula owners and beginner tarantula owners, so that is what we're going to cover today. Talking about the certain health risks like nematodes that you need to look out for if you are having a tarantula. Now, if you're new to the channel, hello, thank you for stumbling upon my videos. I put out videos every single Tuesday on a day that I like to call Tarantula Tuesday. And you can make sure you get those videos by subscribing. You can also get early access to these videos by subscribing to my Patreon. All of those links are in the description below. But anyway, so nematode parasites are something that a lot of new tarantula owners are not prepared for. Even some experienced tarantula owners are not prepared for, don't even know about them. A lot of us do operate under like this preconceived notion that, because it doesn't get sick as like a cat or a dog, and that there aren't tarantula veterinarians everywhere, that this is a low risk pet and that it can't get sick. And I would say that's partially true. Tarantulas do not come with a lot of the hefty veterinarian bills that cats or dogs or bunnies do. And they may not get diseases or viruses or get sick like dogs or cats do, but they can still get sick. Tarantulas can still be victims of cosmetic issues such as tumors or wounds, and they can also have deeper problems such as parasite infections, such as nematodes. So if you are thinking about getting a tarantula, or if you have tarantulas, and if you're new to tarantulas, it's really important to know what kind of health risks there are for these guys. Tarantulas can get parasites like any other living creature, and nematodes happen to be one of the most common of them. And I will describe what nematodes are. I'm going to read a passage from giantspiders.com because I think the information is really good and I think that they can say it better than I can. So I'm just going to read a passage that they put on their website. Nematode worms are microscopic, non-segmented worms that occur naturally in soil all around the world. Most are harmless to your tarantula, but there are some species that are major parasites in invertebrates. They transmit bacteria that is lethal to its host, and for this reason, they are often used for biological insect pest control. Wild-caught spiders are sometimes imported carrying these worms, and if not properly dealt with, they can spread throughout a collection with devastating effects. Nematode worms penetrate their host through any small opening. This could be either the bookworms or their anal glands, their anus, because those are really the openings for the spider. They then spread through the entire spider to eventually emerge through the mouth. Just pretty nasty, pretty graphic, but it's true. Up until the final stages of infection, the spider's behavior is quite normal, and unfortunately, when the symptoms are noticed, it is usually too late. Although devastating when present, nematode worms are relatively rare in collections, and by taking the right precautions and procedures, you can at least limit the amount of damage that they do. I'm going to link to the description below. I'm going to leave a link to a video by Giant Spiders that is really good for explaining this whole thing and giving you good visuals. The visuals are really graphic, but they're really good. They're close up, and they show exactly what to look for if you are worried about your tarantula having nematode parasites. The main giveaway that your tarantula might have a nematode parasite is that there will be white stuff around its mouth. And if you look really closely, it's going to look like white string-like structures or like white worms. Giantspiders.com says that there is another way to test this as well if you can't get a visual, or if your tarantula won't let you turn it over on its back or give you a look at its mouth. According to that website, you can quickly test this by gently shaking your tarantula's container. I don't really advocate for this, but I think in a desperate situation, we'll all do all sorts of things that we don't really normally advocate for to save our spiders. So you can gently shake the enclosure. Be very careful and safe about this if you can. Under normal circumstances, giantspiders.com states that the spider will steady itself on all legs, and will also do things like placing their palps on the floor. However, an infected spider will not do this, apparently. Now, I haven't tested this for myself, so I'm just reporting what I've researched. And another sign is that an infected spider that has nematode parasites will not eat. It cannot attack prey, so if your spider does accept food, then it's likely not infected. And I don't want to freak anyone out, because there are a lot of times when our spiders won't eat, and it's not because they have a parasite, it's because they're either being weird, they're fasting like Spidey, who fasts all the time, or they're in pre-molt. So just because your spider will not accept food doesn't mean that they have a parasite. I don't want to scare you, because there's a lot of reasons why spiders do not except food, and a lot of times it's not anything health-wise. And I also want to remind you that it is winter, at least here in the US, and it's really normal for your spider's metabolisms to slow down and not eat, so don't freak out. Your tarantula probably doesn't have a nematode parasite, but I do want you to still be aware that that is a warning sign. Other warning signs that I found include restlessness, spinning unusual amounts of silk that's not connected to pre-molt or like a molting mat, spending long periods of time around the water dish. Giveaway is usually like an unusual sweet odor coming from the enclosure. Those of you who have tarantulas, you know that these guys do not smell. Under normal circumstances, normally healthy circumstances, tarantulas are very tidy, very clean. They don't stink. Their food stinks, and if their enclosure isn't cleaned properly, yeah, they might be an odor, but it's not usually because of the spiders. Spiders tend to keep their spaces and themselves very, very tidy and clean. So having an unusual odor coming from the tank is usually a warning sign. But the biggest warning sign is always going to be, like, for nematodes at least, going to be that white stuff coming around the mouth. So it's always good to be checking your tarantula's bodies out, making sure that, if they're up against the glass and you can get a look at their mouth, just shining a little flashlight or your phone's flashlight, just kind of checking it out every now and then just to make sure that everything looks good. Now, we do not know what causes nematode parasites. Unfortunately, there's so much limited studies into tarantulas that there's a lot of ailments that they get that we don't actually know what causes them. If you're interested in learning more about first aid, I did a really good video about dyskinetic syndrome, DKS. That is another disease that affects tarantulas that we really don't know much about. So while we don't know what causes nematode parasites, we can always hypothesize and try to gain things from our observations. So it's thought that nematodes enter a tarantula's book lungs when they're young, and then once they mature, they exit through the mouth, and some believe that it's because of infected food, issues with the substrate, or perhaps has been transmitted into a collection due to a wild-caught tarantula that was infected. So I guess what you guys really want to know is this fatal? It is not necessarily fatal. Unfortunately, what makes it fatal is that most of the time, by the time it's caught, it's a little bit too late. More research needs to be done, but there are a few tarantula owners who have said that they've been able to cure nematode parasites in their tarantula. Arachnoboards.com had a really, really good thread. It was the user was Acnophoion. I'm probably saying that wrong, but I'm going to link the thread below because you guys should definitely look at it. This person shared their experience and stated they had used 2 drugs to help their tarantula. They used an antibiotic called cefotaxime, probably saying that wrong, and they used another drug called antinematode, Pyrantel. Definitely look those up. Just go to the link because I'm probably not saying those right. But some of those drugs may not be over the counter, so you might need to get a prescription. But it's worth looking into. So what they did was they cleaned up the mess around the tarantula's mouth the best that they could. Then they used one of those drugs and put that around the mouth that was diluted with water. And then once that dried, they used the Pyrantel with an ear cleaning stick, like a Q-tip. Then they tried to put that around the tarantula's mouth, and they did that for about 3 to 5 days, and also made sure to clean the tank and water dish every time after they did this procedure. So that might stress the tarantula out a lot, but I think in a dire situation, you'll do whatever is possible. They said that they had actually had success with that. Now, I will say there may not be any guarantee in that method. That is just what worked for one person, and those drugs may not be readily available to everybody. I believe that particular tarantula owner was in Russia anyway, so it might look different for somebody who's in the US or somewhere else in the world. And like I said, the biggest thing is that a lot of times those things aren't affected because it's caught too late. Like by the time you start seeing the nematode parasite developing around your tarantula's mouth, that means those worms have probably matured now and it might be too late. This can be fatal just because the nematode worms do cause significant damage to the intestines and the tarantula's stomachs. And it's also thought that sometimes there's too much bacteria in a tarantula that's infected with nematodes that they might not respond to the drugs. If you believe that one of your tarantulas does have nematode parasites, you should definitely quarantine them away from the other tarantulas in your collection. We don't know for sure that it isn't being able to be transmitted, but it's always good to be safe than sorry. Guy Tansley of Bugs and Stuff and GiantSpiders.com also shared another method that may work, and he said that this has worked for him. And I'll just read his directions, but you can also get like the written directions if you want to print it out on my website. So I'm leaving a link to that blog post below. You can just check it out on my website, tarantulaheaven.com, if you want to have it to print out and kind of follow if you'd like. So he wrote, place the spider in a tub tilted to one side, include a small amount of water inside a box with a heat mat attached to a thermostat. Raise the temperature to over 36 degrees Celsius and leave for 5 days, changing the water and cleaning the tub daily. It is said that nematode worms become inactive below 12 degrees Celsius and die when the temperature is above 35 degrees Celsius. All species may not be able to tolerate high temperatures like this, so use caution. The second step is after 5 days, the worm should die and the spider's mouth should be clear. Unfortunately, most tarantulas treated this way still eventually die by the time the worms start to exit the mouth due to internal damage that is irreversible. However, it's still worth a try if that is your only hope. So if your tarantula might die anyway, it doesn't hurt to give these options a try as a last-ditch effort to save them. But since it does seem like when it's caught too late, there's really no hope, your best point of action is to just do preventative measures and make sure that they don't get nematode worms or parasites in the first place. You can kind of safeguard your tarantulas by, one, not introducing any wild-caught tarantulas into your collection, and also by making sure you're keeping up with regular tank maintenance and like things like spot cleaning, picking up any uneaten food, things like that. We obviously need to do more research about this, but that's what we have right now available to us. Very limited information, but at least it's better than nothing. There's a great write-up of a study that was done on them, and I'm going to link that below so you have it. And if you are interested in learning more about tarantula care, tarantula first aid, and tarantula illnesses, you can definitely check out my tarantula guide available on my website and also in the description below. I hope that this was really helpful. If you have any experience with nematode parasites or any other illnesses that your tarantulas have gotten, or if your tarantula has passed away from nematode parasites, please share your experience in the comments up below, because research and information is so limited on this subject. So it would be great to gain more information from each other and see if we can learn from each other's experiences. But thank you so much for watching, guys. I really appreciate your support, and I hope that you found this really useful, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Take care.